2 months ago, FacePuch turrets up. As of right now, you can only have 12 turrets within a set distance. You can place your turrets spread out, but it leaves holes for dirty nakeds to get through. But what if there was a way to double the amount of turrets next to each other? Let me introduce you to the 24 turret flip-flop system. First, we're going to begin with building the flip-flop. This requires 6 E branches, 2 timers, a memory cell, 2 blockers, and a XOR switch. And what this circuit basically does is send power through one of the sides and then flip-flops over to the other side. And it keeps doing this back and forth on a set interval. By default this is 10 seconds, but you can set both timers to whatever you want your intervals on. And they're independent of each other. So as you see, we're wiring all these E branches up, and then we're going to send the first 2 E branches into the timer. So we first power the timer, then toggle it, then we use it to block the block pass through. Then after we've duplicated both of those circuits and put it off to the side, we're going to now begin with the toggle block. I initially messed this up in recording, but the power out on this RF receiver should go into the blocker, and the power in should be coming from the XOR switch at the top of our flip-flop. But connecting the blocker to the toggle is correct. Right here, I do want to iterate again. The power out from the XOR switch should be going into the green circle, and the RF receiver should be going to the red square. Next, we're going to begin building our 12 turret array. First, we're going to set down all of our turrets. You don't need to build the 12 turret array exactly like this. We just have it in a 2x6 so it's easier to digest what's going on. But we want to set up our turrets and set up our blocker chain. Next, we're going to set up our door controllers on our doors, so whenever we power our turrets on, we can also open the doors as well. And whenever the turrets are not powered on, we have the doors closed, keeping them unexposed so they're protected. Next, we're going to set up our power delivery, well, the end half of the power delivery. We're going to be using E branches so we can send 11 power off to the turret and then send the power out to the door controller. Because we will be sending 13 power to these E branches, and so that kind of just sets everything up. After that, like I said, we're going to send our power out to our door controller. So you'll see here that's what I'm doing. And then our branch out is going to be going to our turret to power it. Make sure you set these to 11. An auto turret does normally take 10 power, but we need 11 power since we're going to be sending a signal from our has target. So as you're going to see here, I'm going ahead and wiring all these doors up. I do want to iterate that you would build this into your base, however, you just need to make sure that you have a door controller next to your turret with an E branch, and you want to have a blocker near that turret as well. Keep in mind too, you do not want to have your electrical components exposed, only the turret exposed when the door is open. Since if somebody shoots out just one of these E branches or any one of these components, it could, one, disable that turret as well as mess up the blocker chain. Next, we're going to wire up the blocker chain, and what you're essentially going to be doing is taking from your first blocker and taking the power output and putting it into the input of the next blocker. Then we're going to go to the turrets and take our has target, and we're going to put that through the block pass through on the turret, or on the blocker. So you'll see I'm doing that right now. Now we're going to begin on the beginning half of the power delivery system. We're going to be using a dynamic bus, which is essentially a bunch of splitters, because we want to evenly split our power amongst these little circuits. And we want to not add any more extra electricity to our active usage, since using a electrical branch does add 1 active usage. So you'll see that what we're essentially going to be doing is just running every one of these outputs into the beginning of our E branch. Again, I would like to iterate that you do not want any of these electrical components exposed, especially these electrical power splitters, since if one of these were to be broken, it would shut down the whole turret array. The next step is to set up the turret array blocker signal. So what we're going to be doing is putting a blocker down with an E branch, and we're also going to be putting an RF broadcaster down. What we're essentially doing here is if any of these turrets get a target, it's going to allow power to go through that blocker right there on the right and allow the RF broadcaster to send a signal to our RF receiver, which will then block the flip-flop from allowing it to flip-flop. So that's why we set that E branch to 13, and we're going to send our branch out to the beginning of this blocker chain so we have it all powered, because we have 12 blockers, and 13 minus 12 is 1, and we leave that 1 power there. Next, we're going to go ahead and power this whole thing up. Since I'm on a test server, I'm going to be using a test generator, but you would bring your power in from anywhere, preferably a knee cord. And what we're going to do is set down an E branch. That's going to be the beginning of our circuit, and we're going to set it to 176. And then we're going to send the branch out to the bottom of our memory cell. If everything is wired up correctly, you should see that the left side will be powered on, and then it'll flip-flop to allow the right side to be powered on. Right here I'm having to fix that little bug like I showed earlier, so we're going to take our XOR switch and actually throw it to the bottom through the power, and then use the RF receiver to do the block pass through on the blocker. And we should see here soon it'll flop from that right side to the left side with being powered. So now that we have our turret array done and our flip-flop, we're going to take the power out on our top E branch and send that to the beginning of our power delivery system on our turret array. If everything was wired correctly, you should see that your turret array will now open whenever that side of the flip-flop is powered on. The only thing left to do now is to power our blocker chain. So we're going to be setting a E branch and setting it to 16, and then we're going to send the branch out to the E branch that we have in here that we set to 13 earlier. And this will basically set up our blocker chain and prime our RF receiver, or broadcaster, excuse me. The only things left to do now is to duplicate that turret array and build your second one wherever you want, and add another E branch right on top of our second E branch we just placed for our blocker array, and then send the power out from that second E branch to our RF receiver. And with that, you now own a 24 turret flip-flop system. Thank you very much for watching, and please make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And also, I would like to give a shout out to Ninabug for making the thumbnail to this video, to my best base boyfriend, Degenerate Gambler, for carrying me through every wipe, and I also like to shout out smaller YouTube channels from time to time, so please go drop a subscription to Gup whenever you get a chance. If you would like to get in contact with me for any reason, you can always hit me up on Twitter with my handle posted below, as well as join my Discord. I'm quite active in there and answer as many questions as I can. Thank you again for watching, and please have a good one.